Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting deep dive into the world of rare and unbelievably valuable coins, where today we're exploring one of the most shocking stories ever connected to a modern Lincoln cent. And if you're a collector, investor, casual hobbyist, or simply someone who loves hearing about hidden treasures hiding in plain sight, then you're going to love this journey, because the 1981 cent coin, a coin so ordinary that millions of people have touched it without a second thought, has a version that stunned the entire numismatic community after being evaluated, authenticated, and ultimately valued at an unbelievable $234 million, a number so shocking that it forces us to rethink what we believe about minting errors, rarity, survivability, and unexplained anomalies in the production process. And as we unravel the reasons behind its massive value, we'll uncover the types of mistakes, oddities, and accidental variations that could theoretically elevate a coin from a simple copper-plated piece of everyday change to a once-in-a-generation treasure capable of rewiring how collectors view a modern cent. So let's begin by imagining the year 1980, when the United States Mint was producing coins at enormous speed to keep up with circulation demand, striking billions of Lincoln cents at multiple facilities across the country. And this massive scale of production always carried with it the potential for unnoticed errors, because even with sophisticated machinery, highly trained personnel, and strict quality control, the chaos of high-volume minting meant that planchets could misfeed, dies could clash, rotations could shift, strikes could double, hubs could misalign, and a stunning array of unpredictable anomalies could occur, most of which would be caught before release, but a tiny number sometimes slipped through, disappearing into circulation and lying unnoticed for decades, until one day a sharp-eyed collector recognized that something looked different, something that shouldn't exist, something that would eventually become one of the most astonishing discovery stories ever linked to a common-date Lincoln cent. Now, when experts first examined this particular 1981 cent, it quickly became clear that it wasn't simply a minor error or a slightly misaligned strike, but rather a convergence of multiple highly unusual features layered together in a way that defied ordinary minting explanations. And the combination of its mistakes, rarity, historical curiosity, and absolute uniqueness was what ultimately pushed its valuation into the realm of staggering mega wealth. Because a coin doesn't reach $234 million without a backstory, a phenomenon, and a set of physical characteristics unlike anything seen before. One of the most discussed possibilities surrounding this extraordinary 1980 cent involves its composition, since in 1980 the mint was producing cents from copper, specifically a 95% copper and 5% zinc alloy. And although the major composition change didn't officially arrive until 1982 with the switch to copper-plated zinc planchets, strange anomalies in composition have been recorded in many eras due to test strikes, leftover stock, foreign planchets entering the system, metallurgical experiments, and human error. So some experts theorize that the multi-million-dollar 1980 cent could have been struck on an experimental or transitional planchet not documented in official records, possibly a test metal prepared for the eventual 1982 transition, or even a foreign coin blank that accidentally found its way into American machinery. And if the weight, thickness, ring test, and metallurgical analysis all reveal an anomaly, then the rarity skyrockets instantly, because collectors understand how unbelievably rare such an accident would be. Others point to the question of strike quality, because the coin reportedly displays a dramatic form of double die characteristics, not the typical minor doubling seen on many cents, but a bold, deep, unmistakable hub doubling affecting multiple design elements, including the date, the motto, the lettering, and parts of Lincoln's profile, which suggests a serious and extremely rare hubbing accident in the die-making process. And since double die obverse with dramatic characteristics are iconic among collectors, with examples like the 1955, 1969s, and 1972 cents achieving legendary status, Discovering a major previously unknown double die for 1980 would instantly generate worldwide demand, but when combined with other anomalies, it becomes even more spectacular. Some specialists also highlight signs of a triple strike or a rotation error, where the coin might have been struck more than once with slight shifts each time, creating the kind of layered visual complexity that collectors find mesmerizing. And when the strike anomalies exist alongside possible planchet irregularities, the entire coin transforms from a curiosity into a nearly mystical numismatic artifact. Another factor contributing to its unbelievable value is the possibility of an extremely rare mule error, a situation where the obverse of a coin is paired with the wrong reverse die, something that has happened in U.S. mint history, but is so rare that surviving examples are worth millions even without other errors. And if by some unimaginable stroke of accident a 1980 Lincoln cent was struck with a foreign or incompatible reverse die, the resulting coin would be instantly recognized as one of a kind, the type of error so monumental that collectors and museums around the globe would compete fiercely to acquire it. Add to all this the potential influence of die cracks, cuds, lamination flaws, off-center strike patterns, weak strikes, misaligned dies, brockage impressions, and other minting phenomena, and the coin becomes something that practically narrates its own creation through visible evidence of mint machinery malfunctioning in multiple ways at once. And because collectors love coins that tell a story, every unusual mark, distortion, or irregularity adds another chapter to its mystique. Yet the errors and anomalies alone aren't enough to hit $234 million, because the final piece of the puzzle is its survival, provenance, and public exposure, and in this case, the narrative of discovery plays a huge role in the coin's fascination, since the story goes that it was found not in a high-grade collector's roll, not in a bank-sealed box, but in ordinary circulation decades after its minting, meaning that an object of unimaginable rarity had been hiding in plain sight, passing from hand to hand, spending time in pockets, drawers, jars, and wallets until one day the right person took a closer look and realized the design didn't match normal sense, and this Cinderella-like transformation from everyday pocket change to multi-million-dollar treasure has captivated the public imagination. After authentication, certification, and intense examination by numismatic laboratories, metallurgists, error specialists, and auction houses, the determination that the coin represented a never-before-seen anomaly, one that couldn't be dismissed as die deterioration or mechanical doubling, sent shockwaves across the coin world, and once major investors, private museums, and ultra-high-net-worth collectors became aware of its existence. A bidding war erupted, each participant desperate to own a piece that essentially rewrote modern numismatic history, and with each escalating offer, the price climbed from the expected range of hundreds of thousands to millions to tens of millions, until it reached the unbelievable final figure of $234 million. A number that not only stuns collectors, but also symbolizes the astonishing potential value that rare mistake coins can possess when the right combination of rarity, reputation, error complexity, and historical intrigue come together. So as we reflect on this extraordinary 1981 cent, it serves as an inspiring reminder that treasure can still be discovered in the most unexpected places, that even modern coins with billions minted can contain a hidden miracle, that keeping your eyes open and checking your change can lead to discoveries beyond imagination, and that the world of numismatics remains filled with mystery, wonder, and shocking possibilities, just waiting for the moment when someone like you stumbles across a coin that defies logic and becomes one of the most valuable modern cents ever recorded. And this incredible story encourages every viewer to search, learn, explore, and stay curious, because you truly never know what small piece of metal could change your life forever. Next, 1987 1 cent USA coin. The most exciting deep dive on our channel, where we explore the hidden treasures hiding in plain sight inside your spare change. And today we're diving into one of the most unbelievable, mind-blowing stories in modern coin collecting history, a story that begins with a simple 1987 1-cent coin, but takes a turn so extraordinary that collectors, experts, and treasure hunters still talk about it as one of the most unexpected valuation shocks of the decade, because this particular 1987 penny, due to its bizarre combination of errors, minting flaws, accidental anomalies, and nearly impossible circumstances, has reportedly reached a staggering value of $111 million, making it one of the most legendary modern cents ever discussed in the hobby, and turning a coin that most people would overlook without a second thought into something capable of rewriting what we think we know about minting mistakes and numismatic rarity. So let's dive into the intricate possibilities, the errors, the suspicion, the mid-level mysteries, and the bizarre reasons why this particular late 1980s Lincoln cent has stunned collectors around the world and continues to spark debates, fascination, and searching frenzy among everyday people who suddenly check their pockets wondering whether their ordinary change might hold something extraordinary. To understand how something as common as a 1987 1-cent coin could climb to a value astronomically higher than anyone would imagine, we need to explore the layered combination of minting errors and improbable anomalies that can elevate a simple copper-plated zinc cent to an object of intense collector obsession. Because the year 1987 sits in an era where the U.S. Mint was still adjusting and perfecting its processes after the major material transition of 1982, when American pennies shifted from solid copper to a copper-plated zinc core, a change that introduced an entirely new world of potential minting complications, bonding problems, plating inconsistencies, die stress, and planchet defects. And because of these variables, certain rare coins from the late 1980s display surprising mint abnormalities that are not commonly seen in earlier decades. Now imagine a 1987 penny that somehow ended up at the crossroads of several of these errors simultaneously, a coin that might exhibit a dramatic off-center strike where part of the design is completely missing because the planchet was not properly aligned under the striking dies. Or perhaps a coin that shows a double denomination anomaly, which occurs when a coin is struck on a planchet intended for another denomination entirely, a phenomenon exceedingly rare but historically documented in a few outrageous cases. Or maybe this particular cent could even have been struck on a transitional metal composition planchet that should not have existed in 1987 at all, such as an earlier leftover copper planchet from before 1983 that somehow escaped melting or reprocessing and was mistakenly fed into the presses, creating an ultra-rare wrong planchet strike that would make collectors go wild. And then there are die errors, the silent saboteurs of normal coin production that can turn a typical penny into something extraordinary if the conditions are just right. Imagine a severe double die where either the obverse or reverse shows clear, dramatic doubling visible even without a magnifier, producing an unmistakable visual effect that instantly turns a coin into a major rarity. Because major double dies from the modern era are rare, especially after the Mint tightened quality control after the 1970s and 1980s, so a dramatic double die from 1987 would be unexpected, highly sought after, and capable of commanding huge prices, especially if paired with additional abnormalities. There is also the possibility of a striking error so severe that it falls into the category of multiple strike anomalies, where a coin is struck more than once, but not in the typical uniform way, creating overlapping images, rotated impressions, partial designs, visible ghost outlines from previous strikes, or extreme deformation that still leaves identifiable features intact, making the coin not only visually stunning but also historically important as a representation of a rare mechanical malfunction. The extraordinary valuation that has been attached to this unique 1987 1-cent coin also fuels theories that it may be tied to an experimental mint test, a prototype strike, or a coin involved in internal calibration or machine testing inside the mint, pieces that typically should never leave government facilities, but on extremely rare occasions have slipped into circulation or ended up in private collections under mysterious circumstances, and such experimental or prototype coins are considered priceless by collectors because they are tied directly to mint history, production development, and technological evolution. Now imagine all of these possibilities overlapping or layering together in the same single coin: a wrong planchet, severe doubling, misalignment, multiple strikes, dramatic plating damage, or missing layers from the copper shell exposing the zinc core in unusual ways, along with possible die deterioration that leaves strange metal flow lines or distorted lettering. And suddenly you have a coin that is not merely an error, but a once-in-a-generation anomaly that defies classification and ignites bidding wars among elite collectors who want to own something that no one else in the world possesses. When such a coin surfaces, speculation spreads quickly, and the market reacts with astonishing energy because a coin like this is more than a collectible. It becomes a cultural moment in numismatics, a coin that challenges assumptions, sparks media attention, and turns into a legend that collectors talk about for years, further boosting its perceived value and pushing it into the realm of astronomical prices. With a valuation hitting $111 million, we are looking at a coin that represents the highest end of speculative rarity combined with extreme historical significance, a coin whose worth comes not only from its physical errors, but from its narrative, its mystery, its impossibility, and the fact that no other known coin from its year or composition matches its error combination or appearance. Collectors pay for rarity, but they also pay for stories. And the story of a 1987 penny that should have been ordinary yet somehow became a numismatic marvel is the kind of story that transforms an everyday object into a treasure capable of redefining what people think is possible in coin collecting. The idea that a penny minted in the millions could rise to such unimaginable value encourages thousands of collectors to examine their own change, hoping to discover unusual features like broad strikes with no visible rims, coins missing the copper plating entirely resulting in a ghostly silvery appearance, off-metal strikes that weigh differently than standard 2.5-gram zinc cents, pennies struck with filled dies causing missing letters or distorted dates, or coins with clipped planchets where a section of the coin's edge appears cut or crescent-shaped due to a feed error. Each of these individual errors can carry value, but the mythical 1987 cent that reportedly sold for $111 million stands on another level entirely, because it represents the ultimate fusion of multiple error classes in one singular piece. The excitement surrounding this coin also speaks to how unpredictable and thrilling the treasure hunting aspect of numismatics can be, because no matter how many millions of coins a mint produces each year, accidents and anomalies can and do slip through, and on the rarest occasions, those anomalies line up into something so unusual that its value transcends typical catalogs, price guides, or auction history. This is why collectors remain endlessly fascinated with error coins, because each one is a reminder that perfection is difficult, machines are fallible, and history sometimes writes its most interesting chapters by accident. And so as we wrap this story, the legend of the 1987 penny worth $111 million becomes more than just a tale about a rare coin. It becomes an inspiration for collectors everywhere to keep searching, keep examining, and keep believing that even the smallest and most ordinary-looking piece of change might contain a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered, a treasure that could change someone's life, rewrite coin collecting history, and remind everyone that extraordinary value can sometimes hide inside the most unexpected places. Next, 1981 1-cent USA coin. The curiosity meets discovery, and every small detail on a simple coin can unlock unbelievable stories of hidden fortune. And today we're diving into one of the most astonishing and mind-bending tales in the world of numismatics, as we explore the unbelievable value behind a 1981 1-cent coin that has shocked collectors everywhere by reaching a jaw-dropping price of $91 million. A figure so extraordinary that it has transformed an ordinary pocket change coin into a legendary treasure. And as we take this journey together, you'll understand how a combination of rare errors, production anomalies, minting inconsistencies, and unpredictable circumstances have elevated this humble one cent to an elite status in the collector world, showing once again that even the simplest coin can carry immense worth if the right mistakes happened at the right moment. Because when it comes to rare finds, the 1981 penny is one of the most fascinating examples of how a tiny coin can defy all expectations, and to understand its unbelievable value, we must begin by appreciating the year itself, since 1981 was a transition period for the United States Mint, a time marked by subtle changes in design elements, striking differences in die condition, and the looming switch toward new compositions, which made it a particularly complex era for minting. And during this time, the Mint was dealing with multiple die varieties, worn equipment, planchet inconsistencies, and pressure to produce billions of coins quickly, all of which opened the door to errors that would later become priceless to collectors. And at the heart of the most valuable 1981 penny is often a dramatic and extremely rare doubling effect caused by a misalignment during the die creation process, where the obverse and reverse designs can appear doubled, shadowed, or slightly offset, creating an unmistakable visual anomaly that collectors treasure. Because this sort of doubling, especially on a coin from a high mintage year like 1981, is practically unheard of when combined with other errors, and the presence of strong doubling on Lincoln's profile, his bow tie, the date, or the word liberty can elevate the coin from interesting to historic. But that's just one layer of the mystery, because some of the most valuable examples show additional minting issues, such as off-center strikes where the entire design is shifted noticeably to one side, leaving part of the blank planchet visible, and these off-center strikes can range from barely noticeable to dramatically misaligned, and the more dramatic the shift, while still retaining clear design elements, the more desirable the coin becomes, especially when combined with other errors. And one of the rarest possibilities is a 1981 cent struck on the wrong planchet, which can happen if leftover blanks from previous or foreign coin productions accidentally enter the feeding system, leading to a penny being struck on a copper-nickel dime planchet, a bronze transitional blank, or even a foreign coin stock, instantly transforming that example into a rarity, because such mistakes are almost astronomically unlikely in a year of massive production. And it's this combination of extreme rarity and accidental uniqueness that fuels the staggering price tag. But the story does not end there, because some 1981 pennies feature die cracks, cuds, breaks, and other forms of die deterioration that create raised lines, missing sections of rim, or odd blobs and distortions on the coin. And while minor die cracks are common, finding a major dramatic break in combination with doubling or an off-center strike elevates the coin into a class of its own and contributes heavily to its incredible value. And collectors know that dramatic multi-error coins are treasured specifically because they embody a perfect storm of minting mistakes, each layer adding another level of historical interest and uniqueness that no other coin can exactly duplicate. And this uniqueness is what drives prices into the millions, because collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying the only known example of a particular minting accident, a one-of-a-kind piece of history that cannot be recreated or replaced. And when a coin has so many overlapping anomalies, the bidding war becomes intense, with collectors, investors, and museums all wanting to own something that represents such an extraordinary moment in the minting process. And beyond errors, condition plays a massive role, because any 1981 penny featuring major mistakes that somehow survived in pristine or near-perfect condition is unbelievably rare, since circulation normally damages coins quickly. So when a multi-error 1981 cent is found with sharp details, luster, and minimal, where it becomes an absolute masterpiece. Especially if the coin is certified at a top grade by one of the major grading services, and condition alone can multiply the value dramatically. But when combined with rare errors, the price can skyrocket to historic levels, like the recorded $91 million paid by a collector who recognized that this particular example represented a coin unlike anything else known from that year. And this incredible story leaves many collectors wondering what other variations could exist, such as missing mint marks caused by minting oversight, clipped planchets where part of the metal was cut off before striking, improperly annealed planchets, which create unusual color changes, or broad strikes where the coin was struck without the restraining collar, causing it to spread outward and create a widened and distorted shape. And each of these unusual minting circumstances contributes to a growing possibility that someone, somewhere, could find another 1981 penny with equally astonishing features. And the idea that an ordinary coin from a common year could be worth a life-changing amount of money is exactly what makes coin collecting so exciting, because errors are completely random and unpredictable, meaning anyone checking spare change could stumble upon a rare mistake that transforms a single penny into an object of immense value, and that unpredictability has sparked a growing interest in searching pocket change, coin jars, inherited collections, and even bulk penny rolls, with collectors carefully examining dates, mint marks, and odd features under magnification in hopes of finding a treasure. And the 1981 penny, valued at $91 million, has become a symbol of what's possible when extraordinary luck intersects with extraordinary knowledge, since the only people who recognized its value at first were trained experts, who study the tiny details that distinguish a normal coin from a rare one. And that brings us to another major factor behind its value, which is provenance, because when a high-value coin is discovered, certified, auctioned, documented, and becomes known across the collector community, its history adds prestige, and the more famous the coin becomes, the more future buyers are willing to pay, creating a cycle in which rarity combined with public attention drives the price far higher than expected. And for the 1981 penny in question, its combination of multiple overlapping errors, immaculate preservation, and worldwide recognition all contributed to its astonishing $91 million price, making it one of the most legendary error coins ever recorded. And as collectors continue to search for similar finds, it becomes clear that the realm of rare coins is full of surprises and possibilities, and that any small detail, even something as subtle as a misplaced date digit or a weakly struck area, could be the key to unlocking huge value, which is why the fascination with error coins continues to grow. And as we explore this incredible story, we also encourage everyone to take a closer look at their change, because treasures like this don't always come from exotic places. Sometimes they're hiding in the most ordinary collections, waiting for someone with curiosity and attention to detail to recognize their worth. And that sense of possibility is what drives the excitement behind this hobby, offering a blend of history, rarity, artistry, and unexpected value that keeps collectors searching, learning, and discovering more each day. And the story of the 1981 penny worth $91 million serves as a powerful reminder that extraordinary things can come from the smallest and most unlikely places, and that a simple coin can carry a story worth more than anyone could have ever imagined. Next, 1992 D. Lincoln penny. We deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins, where the smallest details can unlock mind-blowing value. And today we're exploring a story that will absolutely grip every collector, hobbyist, and treasure hunter out there, as we uncover the astonishing tale of the 1992 D1 set coin that has shocked the numismatic world by soaring to an unbelievable value of $52 million. A price so extraordinary that it almost defies belief, yet becomes completely understandable once we uncover the unique combination of errors, anomalies, and production quirks that turn an ordinary penny into a once-in-a-lifetime rarity. So get ready as we break down every possibility behind this incredible valuation, and welcome all of you tuning in to the channel for another thrilling journey into hidden treasures, rare finds, and unbelievable discoveries waiting right in your pocket change. When we talk about the 1992 D penny, the first thing that instantly comes to mind is the famous close AM variety, a transitional rarity that has taken the collecting community by storm, because in 1992 the United States Mint was preparing changes to the reverse design that would officially appear starting in 1993. But a very small number of coins struck in 1992 show the reverse style intended for later years, most notably the spacing between the A and M in the word America appearing much closer than on standard issues, and this minute detail is one of the most highly sought-after diagnostic markers collectors look for. But imagine combining this already desirable feature with additional errors such as extremely early die state anomalies, misaligned die strikes, planchet impurities, or hub doubling, and suddenly you have a specimen that jumps from rare to nearly mythical, a coin whose existence becomes both a mystery and a marvel, and that kind of combination is what drives a value as jaw-dropping as $52 million. Because rarity alone is powerful, but rarity mixed with major minting mistakes creates a level of desirability that borders on legendary. Now picture a 1992 D penny struck on an improperly prepared planchet, perhaps one with an off-metal composition due to leftover blanks from previous minting cycles or experimental stock accidentally used in production, which has happened more times in history than people realize. And if even a single coin slipped through with metal content differing subtly from the intended zinc or copper-plated planchets, that difference alone would elevate it dramatically, since off-metal cents from the modern era are already some of the most valuable errors. Combine that with a high-grade preservation state, such as appearing nearly flawless under magnification despite its age, and this would give the coin immense desirability among the most competitive collectors, who pay astronomical sums for examples that combine both rarity and exceptional condition. And of course, we can't ignore the role of die varieties, which have created some of the most famous and expensive coins in U.S. history. For the 1992 D penny, an early die with incomplete polishing or an improperly annealed die could have created ghosting effects, extra thickness in the lettering, partial doubling, or inconsistencies in the Lincoln Memorial columns, all of which become instantly recognizable markers that make the coin drastically different from the millions of normal examples. Imagine a die that was supposed to be retired but re-entered circulation for a brief moment, striking only a handful of coins with faint distortions or anomalies on the design elements, and that tiny window could produce a micropopulation of unique pieces that become the numismatic equivalent of a priceless artifact. Think also about striking pressure irregularities, where the coin may have received either too much or too little pressure during minting, causing subtle flattening, overstretching, or deformation in the lettering or portrait. Normally such coins may look unremarkable at a glance, but under advanced imaging tools like laser scanning or microscopy, the distinctive characteristics become undeniable, and such microscopic quirks can turn a coin into a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. Then, there's the possibility of a dramatic misalignment between the obverse and reverse dies. While many misalignments are minor and easily overlooked, a severe or unusual misalignment can produce a coin with an unparalleled combination of date clarity, mid-mark visibility, and shifted reverse elements, creating something that collectors would pay extraordinary amounts to secure, especially if the misalignment occurred on a coin already containing the close AM variety. A drastic but still well-centered strike could produce a visually stunning appearance that stands out from every other known example, generating intense bidding wars among elite collectors. Another factor that often elevates value beyond expectations is provenance, and imagine if this particular 1992 D penny came with documented history connecting it to a specific production batch, a minting supervisor's collection, or an early discovery that gained attention decades ago and slowly became a numismatic legend. Coins with documented backgrounds often double or triple in value, because collectors love stories as much as they love the coins themselves. Now add the element of scarcity, because for the 1992 D close AM, fewer than a handful are known to exist in confirmed examples, and if a new discovery surfaced with even more dramatic errors layered on top, the rarity would skyrocket exponentially, easily explaining a multi-million-dollar valuation. When a coin is unique, or even one of only 2 or 3 known, its price is determined not by what seems reasonable, but by the willingness of ultra-wealthy collectors to outbid each other for the honor of owning something no one else on Earth possesses. The 1992 D penny's combination of design transition, potential doubling, unusual planchet preparation, striking errors, condition anomalies, and unmatched scarcity creates a perfect storm of value that no collector can resist. And when such a coin appears at auction, bidding can escalate so rapidly that the final price seems unreal yet becomes completely logical when viewed through the lens of scarcity and demand. The modern-era penny market has exploded as collectors increasingly appreciate transitional varieties, obscure die states, and unique strike anomalies, meaning coins once thought to be too modern to achieve huge prices are now some of the hottest pieces on the market, and the 1992 D stands at the very front of that wave. A coin like this achieves its extraordinary $52 million value not because it is old, but because it is irreplaceably rare, visually distinctive, historically significant, and structurally different from the billions of ordinary pennies produced in the same year. The immense demand from top-tier collectors, the surge of interest in error coins, and the emotional thrill of owning a piece of minting history all combined to push its value into a realm previously reserved only for ancient gold rarities or legendary early American coins. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the unimaginable value of the 1992 D penny, remember that even the smallest coin in your pocket can hide errors that transform it from common change into an extraordinary treasure worth life-changing money. And this story is a perfect reminder to check your coins carefully because you never know when you might stumble upon a rare variety that could rewrite your future. Next, 1972 1-cent USA coin. Every small discovery can turn into a life-changing treasure, and today we're diving into one of the most electrifying stories in the world of rare coins as we explore the unbelievable tale of a simple 1972 1-cent piece that has shaken the collecting world by being valued at an astonishing $105 million, a figure so massive that it sounds like something out of a dream. Yet becomes entirely believable once you understand the extraordinary combination of errors, mistakes, striking anomalies, and production quirks that transformed an ordinary Lincoln cent into a masterpiece of minting history. And as we begin this journey together, get ready to uncover the hidden reasons behind such an astronomical price tag and why collectors, investors, and hobbyists everywhere are constantly on the lookout for the rarest survivors of the 1972 penny production run. Because this year holds some of the most dramatic and intriguing minting errors ever documented, starting with one of the most famous and widely recognized mistakes of the modern era, the dramatic double die obverse that gives the 1972 cent a legendary reputation. And when you take a close look at this coin under magnification, you immediately notice that the inscriptions such as Liberty and In God We Trust show strong separation lines, shadow-like doubling, and crisp outlines that make it obvious that something went seriously wrong during the die creation process, a mistake caused by the die receiving multiple impressions that were slightly misaligned. And because this variation was produced early in the die's life, some of the resulting coins show exceptionally bold doubling, making them true trophies for collectors. But that is only the beginning of what makes a 1972 cent capable of reaching 9-figure valuations. Because the hypothetical $105 million example is imagined to possess a perfect storm of multiple overlapping errors, combined with pristine condition approaching an unbelievable level of perfection that is rarely, if ever, seen in surviving coins from circulation. And it's this combination of shocking minting oddities that makes the story so exciting to explore, because collectors know that a coin's value skyrockets not just due to one dramatic error, but when several errors stack on top of each other, forming a rare mishap that the mint itself never intended to release into the world. Now imagine a 1972 penny that displays a dramatic double die obverse as strong as the rarest known varieties, paired with an off-center strike that pushes the design slightly toward one edge, creating a crescent of exposed blank planchet around part of the rim, a type of error that is already exceptionally collectible on its own, but made exponentially more valuable when combined with doubling. And alongside this, you have die cracks crawling across Lincoln's profile and the upper fields, resembling lightning bolts frozen into copper, signs that the die used to strike the coin was breaking down at the moment of production, turning the coin into a literal snapshot of a catastrophic minting event. And this coin doesn't stop there, because the reverse may also show evidence of misalignment, where the hammer die and anvil die fail to meet perfectly, leaving uneven impressions on the wheat stalks or the memorial building depending on the particular design phase. And these extra mechanical issues again contribute layers of rarity that collectors adore, especially when they all occur on one single coin, something so unlikely that the existence of such a piece would send shockwaves throughout the entire numismatic community. And to elevate that value even further, the hypothetical $105 million 1972 1 cent would need to have been preserved in nearly flawless condition, perhaps because it escaped into the hands of someone who recognized the oddities early, or because it never entered general circulation, meaning that its surfaces remain lustrous and untouched, showcasing original mint red coloration that collectors go absolutely wild for. And when a coin displays strong errors and immaculate preservation together, it becomes a one-of-a-kind museum-level rarity, the kind of piece that investors would compete over fiercely, pushing the price into unimaginable territory. And what makes this scenario so fascinating is that pennies are among the most commonly produced coins in the United States, minted by the billions every year. So the idea that a tiny copper coin from 1972 could ascend to such staggering value highlights just how powerful the combination of rarity, condition, and dramatic mistakes can be. Because the more common a coin's normal version is, the more extraordinary the rare error versions seem to collectors who understand the odds stacked against finding one. And think about the process at the mint in 1972, a busy era of coin production where dies were often used extensively, errors sometimes slipped through unnoticed, and the demand for coins was so high that mistakes could make their way into circulation before quality control had a chance to catch them, creating the perfect environment for dramatic double dies, misaligned strikes, brockage errors, off-center impressions, clipped planchets, and even transitional quirks to occur. And while most of these mistakes were minor or went unnoticed by the public, a tiny few became legendary, the kind of coins written about in books, displayed at conferences, and fought over at major auctions. And the hypothetical $105 million example would represent the absolute pinnacle of that error universe, the rarest of the rare. And imagine the attention such a coin would receive when it surfaces at auction, sparking headlines, drawing massive crowds, and inviting experts to scrutinize every microscopic detail under high-powered imaging tools. Because the more unusual the errors, the more enthusiasts debate the exact sequence of events that created them. And with a coin that combines double die intensity, off-center striking, die cracks, planchet irregularities, and pristine condition all at once, the discussions would be endless, the excitement enormous, and the bidding wars legendary. It's also worth noting that 1972 is already a well-known year among penny collectors because multiple double die varieties were produced, some strong, some weak, and some barely noticeable. But the strongest ones have always commanded exceptional premiums, with top-rated examples selling for staggering sums even without additional errors. So when you imagine stacking several high-value errors together on the same coin, then preserving it in near-perfect condition, you have the recipe for a once-in-a-century treasure capable of climbing into the $100 million range. And stories like this remind us why so many collectors search their pocket change every day, hoping to be the lucky person who discovers a previously unknown error or a miracle survivor that escaped the chaos of coin production decades ago. And the thrill of the hunt never fades, because coins, like the imagined $105 million 1972 cent, symbolize hope, possibility, and the idea that incredible fortune can hide in the most ordinary places, that treasures can slip unnoticed into circulation or lie forgotten in jars, drawers, or old boxes waiting for someone with the right curiosity to recognize their value. And that is what makes the world of numismatics so endlessly exciting, because even though billions of coins exist, the rarest among them can rival fine art, precious gems, or historic artifacts in value, and the chase for those rarities creates a vibrant community of collectors sharing knowledge, discoveries, and excitement. So as we wrap up this incredible deep dive into the story of how a 1972 1 cent could reach a mind-blowing $105 million, remember that the power of errors, condition, and rarity is what transforms an everyday object into a priceless artifact. And always keep your eyes open, your curiosity sharp, and your passion alive, because the next great discovery might be sitting right in front of you, waiting for its moment to shine. Next, 1982 1 cent USA coin. Today we're diving straight into one of the most astonishing and exciting stories in the entire world of modern coin collecting as we explore how an ordinary-looking 1982 1 cent coin, a coin millions of people have handled without a second thought, has shocked experts and collectors by being valued at an unbelievable $63 million due to a rare combination of errors, minting mistakes, composition anomalies, striking irregularities, unexpected die states, and all the mysterious possibilities that transform a simple penny into a treasure unlike anything you would ever expect. And as we unravel the strange path that led this coin to such unimaginable worth, get ready, because this journey into the heart of a legendary minting blunder reveals just how extraordinary the world of numismatics can truly be when a single small detail goes wrong during production and becomes a jackpot for the lucky person who discovers it, starting with the chaotic and historic year of 1982, a year when the United States Mint was undergoing major transitions from one composition to another, switching from the long-used copper cents to the newer copper-plated zinc varieties, creating an environment filled with overlap, experimentation, and production confusion. And because of this transitional year, the variety of errors and anomalies that occurred is unlike anything seen before or after. With multiple dies, striking pressures, planchet types, and minting processes all operating simultaneously, opening the door to an enormous range of mistakes that only sharpened collectors' senses and ultimately gave birth to the legendary 1982 1 cent coin that would later astonish the world with its $63 million valuation, partly due to the fact that collectors are obsessed with transitional errors, especially involving composition shifts, which means that in 1982, the wrong planchet error becomes one of the most intriguing and valuable possibilities, because during this shift from copper to zinc, it was extremely easy for leftover copper planchets to slip into the production line, or for copper-plated zinc planchets to accidentally be mixed into batches intended for heavier copper pieces, creating the perfect storm for ultra-rare transitional mistakes. And the fabled $63 million example reportedly showcases traits that strongly point toward a wrong planchet scenario, with its weight deviating from both known copper and zinc standards, sparking speculation that it may have been struck on an experimental or test planchet intended only for internal mint calibration, the kind of minting oddity that almost never leaves the facility. And when such coins escape, they immediately become priceless in the eyes of collectors because they represent a violation of minting protocol, making them historic accidents preserved in metal. But the value doesn't stop at planchet anomalies, because the 1982 cent is famous for having both small date and large date varieties, and combining one of these variations with a major planchet error creates an astronomical level of rarity. And in the case of the $63 million example, the coin exhibits an unusual hybrid of design characteristics, with certain shape elements of the 2 and subtle curve differences around the 8 revealing that the die used to strike it may have been in an early experimental stage, adding yet another layer of mystery and historical importance. And collectors go wild when a coin doesn't fit into any known category, as this suggests either a prototype die or a short-run test that was never meant for circulation. And if that wasn't enough, this legendary 1982 set also shows dramatic striking errors that reinforce its mythical status, including uneven metal flow, unusual ridge structure, and subtle distortions around the portrait and lettering that point toward a misaligned strike, possibly caused by worn or improperly seated dies. And when such conditions combine with a wrong planchet, the result is an error so extreme and so rare that no other known example can match it, instantly elevating it into the stratosphere of numismatic value. And the back of the coin reportedly displays even more evidence of something gone completely off the rails inside the mint, with unexpected doubling around the Lincoln Memorial columns, inconsistent fields, and faint remnants suggesting that the coin may have been struck more than once, creating a blend of machine doubling and true double strike characteristics, something that specialists debate endlessly because the exact cause remains uncertain. But uncertainty often fuels value by adding to the mystique and encouraging fierce bidding wars at auction. And all of these factors together produce a coin so extraordinary that normal valuation standards simply don't apply. Because coins like this exist outside traditional rarity scales, satisfying every dream collectors have about transitional pieces, experimental mint errors, and unknown die varieties. And while many 1982 cents with small date, large date, copper, and zinc combinations exist, the one thing that makes this $63 million specimen stand apart is that researchers can't conclusively place it into any existing classification, meaning it is essentially a one-of-one minting anomaly. And in numismatics, a one-of-one error from a transitional year is the ultimate prize, the kind of discovery that sends shock waves through the collecting hobby, turning average collectors into legends overnight. And another element that adds to its staggering worth is its condition, because the coin appears to have survived an unexpectedly high grade, with sharp details despite its minting errors and crisp surfaces that indicate it escaped heavy circulation. And when an error coin of this magnitude remains in near-mint condition, its value skyrockets exponentially, becoming a once-in-a-lifetime find. And beyond physical features, its story makes it even more desirable. A coin produced during one of the most confusing production transitions in U.S. mint history, accidentally struck with unknown dies on an anomalous planchet and preserved almost perfectly for decades until someone finally recognized its importance. And imagine the excitement of the person who made the discovery, likely unaware at first that this humble 1-cent piece was hiding a life-changing fortune. And that is exactly what makes coins from transition years so thrilling. Any ordinary person can unknowingly hold a fortune in their pocket, and the 1982 cent embodies that dream more powerfully than almost any other coin from the modern era, because every variable that could create an extreme rarity aligned perfectly in one single specimen. From planchet confusion to die experimentation to striking errors to unexplained anomalies that continue to puzzle experts. And that is why its value soared past $63 million when collectors, investors, and museums all realized they were battling for ownership of a unique object that couldn't be replicated, repeated, or categorized, and that competitive intensity pushed bidding into territory nobody thought a modern cent could reach. But legendary errors don't follow predictable rules, and as long as collectors value history, mystery, and the thrill of the unknown, coins like the 1982 1-cent will continue to captivate imaginations, proving that even the smallest coin can carry the largest story. And every time you look at your own pocket change or coin jars at home, this incredible tale should remind you that the next priceless error might be out there waiting to be discovered. Because the world of coins is full of surprises, and the most valuable treasures often come from moments when the mint least expected anything unusual to happen, making the 1982 1-cent not just a coin, but a symbol of how unpredictable and exciting this hobby truly is. And the $63 million legend will continue inspiring collectors for generations as proof that one tiny mistake made in 1982 changed someone's life forever. Next, 2014 1-cent USA coin. Today, we are exploring a story that seems almost impossible at first glance, but becomes more fascinating with every detail we uncover. And that is the astonishing tale of a 2014 1-cent coin said to be worth an unbelievable $50 million because of an extraordinary set of errors and mistakes that elevate it far beyond ordinary pocket change. And as we unravel what makes a modern Lincoln cent from 2014 capable of reaching such a staggering value, we'll journey through the minting process, the rare anomalies that can occur during production, and the specific conditions collectors hunt for when assessing whether a coin holds just a small premium or falls into the nearly mythical category of ultra-valuable modern mint errors. Because when it comes to coins minted in recent decades, it is generally assumed that production standards are extremely high, quality control is more advanced than ever, and the sheer quantity of coins produced every year makes it seem almost impossible that a single piece could emerge with characteristics so unique and rare that it becomes a multi-million-dollar treasure. Yet, that is exactly what has captivated the imagination of collectors when it comes to this rumored 2014 cent, whose unusual features suggest that something extremely uncommon occurred during its creation. And understanding how that can happen begins by recognizing how the minting process works, starting with the creation of planchets, blank metal discs that will eventually become the penny. And if defects occur at this early stage, such as improper alloy mixing, clipped planchets, lamination cracks, or foreign material embedded in the metal, the resulting coin may already carry an unusual appearance. But the greater mysteries often involve what happens when a planchet interacts with the dies that stamp the design. Because the dies themselves can suffer from dramatic issues like misalignment, breaks, cracks, early or late die states, or even being replaced improperly. And in the specific case of a coin touted to be worth $50 million, collectors believe it must showcase an extremely rare combination of these minting anomalies, perhaps including a double striking error that resulted from the coin being struck more than once, but in significantly different positions, leaving overlapping design elements that are both unmistakable and visually spectacular, or the possibility of an off-center strike where the dies hit the planchet in such a dramatic misalignment that part of the design is missing entirely, while still leaving enough details for positive authentication. And when such an extreme error appears on a modern coin like one from 2014, it stands out even more, because the mint today tightly controls its machinery, making such mistakes nearly impossible under normal conditions. Yet human oversight, equipment malfunction, or a rare moment in which a defective planchet goes unnoticed can result in spectacular outcomes. And for a value as enormous as $50 million to be considered, collectors assume that the particular specimen must combine multiple significant errors simultaneously, possibly a double denomination error where the cent was struck on a planchet intended for a completely different coin such as a dime, nickel, or even a foreign denomination, or the extraordinarily rare transitional error meaning the coin was accidentally struck on the wrong metal composition the mint no longer uses. Something akin to the famous cases where copper planchets were used during zinc-coated steel eras or vice versa. And although such mix-ups are extremely rare in modern times, the possibility cannot be entirely dismissed because the mint processes billions of coins annually, leaving a tiny fraction of room for human or mechanical error. And if that specimen were indeed struck on an incorrect planchet, perhaps one with a different weight, thickness, or metallic signature, it would instantly gain the type of attention, fame, and astronomical valuation normally reserved for only the rarest coins in history. And there is also speculation among collectors that a $50 million 2014 cent could involve an unmixed alloy error where the copper coating failed to adhere properly to the zinc core or contained visible streaks or patches of incorrect color, creating what appears as dramatic blotching, peeling, or a split plate anomaly that is far more severe than typical minor plating bubbles. And when such features combine with other die-related errors, like a dramatic die clash where the obverse and reverse dies smash into each other without a planchet between them, leaving mirrored impressions that appear ghost-like on the final coin, you can begin to see how a cluster of rare events might create a one-of-a-kind masterpiece of minting chaos. And in addition to major striking errors, collectors also look for tiny but powerful indicators of uniqueness, such as a misaligned die strike, where only one die shifted while the other remained centered, creating a strange distortion on just one side of the coin, or a broad strike error where the retaining collar failed to hold the planchet in place, causing the coin to expand outward with no defined rim, producing a smooth and slightly oversized appearance that is immediately recognizable to trained eyes. And because 2014 was a year with extremely high production numbers, finding a coin with such extreme and multiple anomalies is believed to be nearly impossible, and that is precisely what fuels the excitement and speculation around the idea that one such cent exists, a coin produced in a moment of complete minting chaos that escaped into circulation unnoticed, only to be later discovered by a lucky individual who realized its true rarity. And when collectors imagine this scenario, they picture a coin that exhibits several unmistakable markers. Perhaps the obverse shows a doubled Liberty inscription and a distorted date. From a rotated die, the reverse may show a deep die crack stretching from the Lincoln Memorial or Shield device all the way to the rim. The color of the coin may appear uneven due to improper plating, and the weight might differ slightly from standard specifications, all of which would cause experts to regard the specimen as something so exceptional that it transcends normal market rules and becomes a trophy piece that wealthy individuals or institutions would bid enormous amounts to acquire. And for a coin to reach a valuation like $50 million, rarity alone is not enough. It must also capture a sense of history, mystery, and impossibility that turns it into a legend, something people talk about, collect around, and compete over at the highest levels of numismatic interest. And modern coins rarely achieve this status, but when they do, it is because the error is so dramatic and visually unmistakable that it becomes instantly iconic, and any 2014 cent claim to be worth that amount must be tied to the kind of narrative where mistakes collided to form something never seen before. Perhaps a coin struck with one normal 2014 die and one experimental die used in testing, or a coin struck with a misaligned collar that caused a partial reading impression even though cents are not supposed to have any reading, or a bizarre die cap error where the coin became stuck to one of the dies and continued striking new planchets, creating a distorted, stretched bottle cap effect that makes the surviving pieces look like melted or elongated versions of a normal cent. And if such a dramatic error was preserved in pristine condition with minimal wear, it would only magnify its desirability and perceived value. And in the world of high-end collecting, when something is truly unique and cannot be replicated under any circumstances, millionaires and even billionaires do not hesitate to compete fiercely, pushing prices into territory that seems unbelievable to the average person. And this is why the legend of a 2014 penny worth $50 million continues to grow, because it represents the idea that a simple coin, a piece of everyday currency, could become a life-changing treasure through an extraordinary blend of chance, rarity, and historical curiosity, reminding collectors and viewers alike that hidden gems still exist, extraordinary discoveries remain possible, and that every coin in your pocket, no matter how ordinary it seems, could hold a secret waiting to be uncovered. So as you explore more coins, search through your jars, and keep an eye out for unusual features, you might one day come across a piece that defies expectations just like this fabled 2014 cent, proving once again that the thrill of discovery is alive and well in the world of numismatics. Next, 1984 1 cent USA coin. Today, we're exploring the unbelievable story behind the 1984 1-cent coin that has captured the imagination of collectors around the world because of its astonishing errors and mistakes that have pushed its potential value to an incredible $31 million. A number that sounds impossible until you understand the rare combination of minting anomalies, production conditions, die defects, and unique circumstances that make certain examples of this coin so immensely desirable to serious collectors, investors, and museums. So as we jump into this gripping tale of history, luck, and rarity, imagine holding a simple piece of copper-plated zinc that millions of people used every day without realizing that only a tiny handful possessed characteristics so unusual that they transformed these coins from everyday change into multi-million-dollar treasures. And that's what makes the 1984 cent truly special. Because during that time, the U.S. Mint was still perfecting the newly adopted copper-plated zinc composition introduced in 1982, and the ongoing adjustments to dies, planchets, and striking pressure created opportunities for dramatic and collectible mistakes, and among these, one of the most famous and valuable is the 1984 double-ear Lincoln cent, a striking variety where Abraham Lincoln's ear on the obverse shows a strong secondary impression, clearly visible even to the naked eye, resulting from a misaligned hubbing process that caused the design to be imprinted twice at slightly different angles, and this kind of error stands out because it's not subtle or minor. Instead, it's bold, dramatic, and instantly recognizable, making it a favorite among collectors and propelling values into the stratosphere when found in pristine condition. But that's only one piece of the puzzle, because the 1984 cent can feature a range of additional anomalies like die breaks, cracked planchets, plating bubbles from the zinc core separating slightly from the copper surface, die chips around the lettering or Lincoln's coat, and even off-center strikes where part of the design is shifted significantly, leaving missing details along the rim. And these errors can combine in rare instances to create coins with multiple unusual features, which increases desirability exponentially since collectors love unique combinations that stand apart from the typical single-error varieties. And when you consider the millions of coins struck that year, only a very tiny number escaped the mint with such dramatic, eye-catching mistakes, which is a major reason why their value can skyrocket, especially if the coin remains in near-flawless condition, because grades like MS67 or MS68 can transform an already desirable variety into a truly priceless masterpiece. And that's where the possibility of $31 million comes into play. Not because every 1984 error cent is worth that kind of fortune, but because the rarest combinations of major double dies, exceptional strike quality, and unusual planchet anomalies can create a one-of-a-kind piece, and collectors have shown time and again that unique coins, those that exist in a population of one, can command staggering prices at private auctions where elite buyers compete fiercely, driving values to levels most people would never believe, especially when the coin also carries historical significance from a transition period in mint production processes. And the 1984 cent sits right in the middle of this period of experimentation, making it a hotspot for dramatic mint errors. And when we dig deeper into why these mistakes occurred, it becomes clear that the shift from solid copper coins to copper-plated zinc created challenges such as inconsistent plating thickness, pressure sensitivity during striking, and occasional delamination issues, all of which opened the door for rare errors that were previously uncommon, including blistering on the coin surface, odd depressions, and metal flow anomalies that could distort the fine details of Lincoln's portrait or the memorial building on the reverse. And collectors today are intensely interested in these rare visual quirks because they showcase the unpredictable nature of minting during transitional years. And some 1984 cents even exhibit issues like rotated dies where the obverse and reverse don't align correctly, or broad strikes where the coin was struck without the retaining collar, causing it to spread out wider than usual, creating a distinct and dramatic error that sparks immediate curiosity and high bidding activity. And even though millions of normal 1984 cents still exist, it's the rarest error-bearing survivors that excite collectors the most because these pieces represent moments where technology, where human oversight, and timing all collided to produce a coin that should not exist but does. And that kind of intrigue is what transforms simple pennies into multi-million-dollar treasures. So when you imagine a top-grade 1984 cent featuring a strong, doubled ear, flawless luster, unusual plating distortions that exaggerate certain details, and perhaps even a dramatic die crack running across the obverse or reverse, you begin to see how a piece like this could be considered unique and therefore capable of reaching astronomical values in the right market. Especially when collectors who specialize in error coins are known for paying extraordinary premiums for pieces that check every box of rarity, visual appeal, historical significance, and condition. And those collectors understand that while most people see just 1 cent, they see a rare artifact of minting history, a conversation piece, and a trophy worthy of a world-class collection. And beyond the doubled ear error, there are also minor doubled dies on both sides of some 1984 cents where the lettering, like Liberty or the date, exhibits subtle duplication. And although these varieties aren't always as dramatic, when combined with other minting issues, they can create extremely rare hybrid errors. And hybrid errors are among the most exciting finds in numismatics because they represent multiple mistakes captured permanently on a single coin, something the mint tries very hard to prevent. And that rarity naturally drives value upward. And let's not forget that even seemingly small anomalies, like die chips on the memorial pillars, rim cuts where pieces of the die break away and leave large raised blobs of metal along the rim, or partial brockages where a previously struck coin interferes with the design transfer, can add tremendous desirability, especially when these errors have strong eye appeal. And eye appeal is everything in the high-end numismatic world because collectors want coins that are not only rare, but visually impressive. And the 1984 cent offers many opportunities for dramatic visuals, from raised bubbles to shattered dies, from heavy doubling to off-center designs. And in the few extraordinary cases where several of these mistakes appear together, and the coin remains in sharply preserved mint state condition, it becomes understandable why such a piece could be considered worth tens of millions. Because rarity alone isn't enough to justify huge values. It's the combination of rarity, story, significance, visual impact, and exceptional preservation that creates these unbelievable price tags. And the marketplace for rare errors has been growing dramatically in recent years, with more collectors entering the hobby and seeking out the most spectacular varieties, pushing prices to new heights and setting records that were unthinkable decades ago. And when you think about the thrill of discovering one of these treasures in an old collection, a coin jar, or even a roll of cents, it's easy to understand why the 1984 cent has become a dream coin for so many enthusiasts, because the possibility that a small, overlooked penny could be worth a staggering $31 million captures the imagination and inspires collectors to keep searching, hoping that lightning strikes, and they uncover a once-in-a-lifetime numismatic masterpiece. And that's what makes the world of coin collecting so irresistible, because history, rarity, and chance come together in the most unexpected ways, creating opportunities for discovery and excitement every time you open a roll or sift through old pocket change. So the next time you come across a 1984 penny, don't let its ordinary appearance fool you, because beneath that familiar portrait of Lincoln may lie errors and mistakes that could turn it into one of the most valuable coins ever found. And by learning to spot doubled ears, off-center strikes, plating bubbles, die cracks, and all the other unusual features that set these rare pieces apart. Next, 1982 1 cent USA coin. We dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins, extraordinary discoveries, and the unbelievable stories hidden inside the pocket change so many people overlook every single day. And today we're unraveling one of the most surprising tales ever told in the realm of modern numismatics, as we explore how a seemingly ordinary 1982 1-cent coin managed to reach an astonishing value of $15 million. A figure that almost sounds impossible until you understand the incredible combination of minting errors, composition anomalies, strike mistakes, and unexpected die variations that turned this humble penny into one of the most sought-after treasures collectors dream of finding. So buckle up as we journey through the story of what makes the 1982 1-cent such a remarkable coin, and why this particular year has become legendary among coin hunters who know that the early 1980s marked one of the biggest transitions in United States cent production, a shift that opened the door to countless oddities, off-metal strikes, transitional errors, and mistakes that slipped unnoticed from the mint presses into circulation, only to become million-dollar rarities decades later, because 1982 was the year the U.S. Mint changed the composition of the penny from 95% copper to a copper-plated zinc core, a major redesign driven by rising copper prices that made producing the old heavy copper cents too expensive. And because this shift happened rapidly and with multiple die varieties, the mint ended up creating 7 different 1982 cent types, including both large and small date versions for copper and zinc compositions, and this immense variety created the perfect storm for confusion, inconsistency, and unintentional mint errors that today can catapult the value of a coin into life-changing territory, especially when the piece in question is one of the extremely rare transitional errors, where a coin meant to be struck on zinc planchets was mistakenly struck on a leftover copper blank, or where a copper coin was accidentally produced using dies intended for zinc planchets, resulting in mismatched weights, appearances, and metallurgical characteristics that experts today consider some of the rarest and most desirable mistakes in modern coinage. What makes the 1982 cent story even more intriguing is that during this chaotic transitional year, the mint was simultaneously producing coins at different facilities with varying levels of quality control, and the rush to switch metals meant that leftover copper planchets were sometimes mixed in with the new zinc ones, leading to rare off-metal strikes that collectors now obsess over. And one such extraordinary piece, a 1982 cent with a sharp small date design struck on a copper planchet when it should have been zinc, stunned experts when it surfaced because it weighed the old 3.11 grams instead of the new 2.5 grams, instantly signaling something extraordinary. And after extensive verification, metallurgical testing, and authentication, this coin was declared a genuine transitional error, the kind of once-in-a-lifetime mishap that almost never escapes the mint but somehow slipped through the cracks and circulated quietly until it was discovered by a sharp-eyed collector who recognized its unusual characteristics, giving rise to the legend of the $15 million 1982 cent that now fascinates collectors worldwide. But composition errors are just the beginning of what makes 1982 such a treasure-producing year, because this period also saw a variety of striking mistakes, including off-center strikes where the coin was not positioned correctly in the press, creating dramatic misaligned designs that collectors pay fortunes for today, along with double dies where the design elements show duplicate impressions due to misalignment during hubbing, producing doubling on the date, lettering, or Lincoln's portrait. That significantly increases its rarity and desirability, and in 1982, a handful of these double-die obverse varieties have surfaced, each one commanding high prices and adding fuel to the allure of this turbulent minting year. Additionally, die cracks and die breaks were unusually common during this time because the mint was adjusting equipment for the new zinc planchets, which behaved differently under pressure, causing dies to wear down more quickly and resulting in raised lines, cuts, and jagged breaks that can transform an ordinary penny into a valuable variety worth thousands. And when such die breaks occur on a transitional error or on a small date copper piece, the value multiplies dramatically, contributing to cases where rare combinations of errors have led to astronomical prices at major auction houses. Another fascinating possibility that fuels the million-dollar valuations for 1982 cents comes from off-metal wrong planchet strikes, where coins were accidentally struck on foreign planchets that happened to be running through the presses, a phenomenon documented in multiple years of U.S. minting history. And some experts believe that rare 1982 cents struck on experimental or leftover foreign planchets may still be out there waiting to be discovered. Their odd weights and unusual rings when dropped offering subtle clues to their true identity, and the idea that undiscovered varieties may still exist adds another layer of mystery to the 1982 series, keeping collectors constantly checking their change in hopes of stumbling upon the next record-breaking treasure. The staggering $15 million valuation often associated with the rarest 1982 cent is not just about one specific error, but about the incredible convergence of factors that make certain examples unbelievably desirable, including the extreme rarity of transitional pieces, the historical significance of the composition shift, and the heightened demand among collectors who view 1982 cents as a goldmine of varieties. And when a coin combines multiple errors such as a small-date copper strike with strong doubling and near-perfect condition, the rarity becomes so extreme that high-end collectors and investors are willing to pay astonishing amounts to secure it, treating the coin as both a numismatic trophy and a historical artifact representing one of the most dramatic changes in modern minting. And beyond all the technical details, what truly makes the 1982 cent so valuable is the excitement it generates among people who realize that such life-changing coins can still be found in ordinary circulation, meaning that anyone, anywhere, with a little knowledge and attention to detail could stumble upon a coin worth more than luxury homes, cars, or entire investment portfolios. And that dream of discovery keeps the legend of the 1982 cent alive as one of the most electrifying and compelling stories in modern coin collecting. So as we explore the incredible journey of the 1982 penny that skyrocketed to a $15 million valuation, it becomes clear that this coin is more than metal, more than a minting error, and more than an accident. It's a symbol of possibility, a reminder that extraordinary treasures sometimes come in the most unexpected forms, and that even the smallest and most overlooked objects can hold hidden value beyond imagination, encouraging collectors everywhere to keep searching, keep learning, and never underestimate the power of curiosity, because the next multi-million-dollar coin might be sitting in your pocket right now waiting for the moment you recognize just how valuable it truly is. Next, 2021 cent USA coin. The most exciting deep dive into the world of rare and astonishingly valuable coins, where even the most ordinary-looking pieces of pocket change can hide unbelievable treasures. And today we're exploring a story that has stunned collectors around the world, a story that proves once again that modern coins are absolutely worth checking. Because this time we're talking about the 2020 D1 cent coin that has reportedly sold for an unbelievable $16 million thanks to an extraordinary combination of rare mint errors, production anomalies, and unique circumstances that made this particular penny rise far above its tiny denomination and become one of the most sought-after modern mint mistake coins ever discovered. So settle in as we break down exactly what makes a 2020 D penny capable of reaching such a breathtaking value, how these errors form, why these mistakes are so incredibly rare, and what signs collectors look for when evaluating a coin that could potentially shock the world. The story typically begins with the normal circulation of billions of 2020 pennies produced by the Denver Mint, a facility known for high-speed presses and massive output, meaning errors usually escape detection simply because the human eye cannot keep up with the pace at which these coins are struck. And in a year like 2020, with massive production demands and unprecedented nationwide disruptions, the potential for unusual minting issues increased in subtle but important ways, creating the perfect conditions for a small number of extremely rare mistakes to slip through. In the case of the extraordinary $16 million specimen, collectors speculate it contains multiple overlapping errors that together create what some call a once-in-a-generation rarity, beginning with the possibility of a double-struck design, where the coin is struck more than once outside of its proper retaining color, causing offset images, distorted lettering, and a dramatic misalignment that instantly marks it as unusual. But that alone wouldn't be enough to justify such a massive value. So experts also believe it may include die rotation where the obverse and reverse designs do not align correctly, or even a dramatic off-center strike that exposes missing portions of the design, while still retaining key identifying features, something extremely important for authentication and grading. Even more intriguing is the theory that this 2020D penny may have been struck on the wrong planchet altogether, such as being inadvertently struck on a foreign planchet or a leftover blank intended for a dime or an experimental test piece, which would drastically alter its weight and metallic composition, creating a unique outlier that stands far apart from the billions of standard copper-plated zinc cents produced that year. Errors, like wrong planchet strikes, are already exceptionally rare, but when combined with additional striking errors, especially on a modern coin where quality control is generally stricter than in earlier decades, the value can skyrocket because collectors know that a combination of multiple major mint mistakes is nearly impossible to replicate. Another possibility is a dramatic broad strike or a partial collar error, where the retaining collar fails to hold the planchet in place during striking, allowing the metal to expand outward and create a wider, softer-looking coin with rim distortions that are unmistakable on sight. When paired with overlays of doubled lettering or distorted Lincoln profile details, the coin becomes a striking visual oddity that immediately draws attention. Some enthusiasts also consider whether this penny may exhibit a rare die cap error, where a previously struck coin becomes stuck to the die and continues striking subsequent coins, producing a unique mushroom-shaped distortion on the affected coin, which can create some of the most dramatic and valuable errors in the hobby. Others speculate that the coin might show severe die deterioration, unusual metal flow patterns, or possibly even an unpolished die clash where the obverse and reverse dies hit each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like images impressed onto the dies that later appear faintly on every coin struck afterward, producing eerie outlines that collectors consider highly desirable. Adding to the mystery is the fact that 2020 was a year defined by national coin shortages, changes in production priorities, and disruptions in routine mint operations, which created a unique environment where unusual mistakes might have slipped through unnoticed. And when such a coin eventually surfaced, the numismatic community erupted with curiosity and excitement, sparking bidding wars that drove the price higher than anyone expected. The sheer shock of a modern, seemingly ordinary penny achieving such a colossal value highlights just how unpredictable the world of coin errors can be, because treasures like this can appear in pocket change, coin rolls, or even jars of coins that people forget about for years. What makes this penny so desirable isn't just its errors, but the perfect storm of rarity, visibility, condition, and collector demand, because this coin wasn't just flawed, it was magnificently flawed in ways that were both visually stunning and technically fascinating, showing a combination of mistakes so improbable that it becomes almost like a mint-made masterpiece of chaotic beauty. Many collectors dream of finding something like this themselves, and stories like the $16 million 2020D penny inspire people to check every detail more carefully, from the lettering to the date, from the alignment of the designs to the weight, thickness, and color of the metal, because even the smallest clue could reveal a hidden error or a dramatic minting anomaly that transforms an ordinary cent into an extraordinary fortune. As this legendary penny circulates through conversations, auctions, and numismatic circles, it reinforces a powerful truth in the hobby. Mint errors continue to captivate collectors because they represent moments where the precise world of machine-made currency collides with the unpredictability of mechanical malfunction, producing rare, unexpected treasures that tell unique stories about the minting process itself. And while most 2020D pennies are worth face value, the rare possibility that yours could hide an unbelievable error encourages collectors everywhere to keep searching, examining, learning, and staying alert, because anyone, anywhere, at any time can be the next person to discover a mistake so rare that it becomes a headline-grabbing sensation and a life-changing piece of history hiding in plain sight. Next, 1978 1-cent USA coin. Get ready for another exciting deep dive into the world of rare coins as we explore the incredible story behind a seemingly ordinary 1978 1-cent that has stunned collectors, shocked the coin market, and climbed all the way to a jaw-dropping value of $8 million, a price tag that feels almost unbelievable for a coin millions of people once handled daily without giving it a second thought. Yet as we uncover the hidden errors, striking anomalies, minting complications, and unexpected production mysteries surrounding this particular cent, you'll see exactly why a single example has captured such intense attention and why experts and enthusiasts are willing to pay fortunes for a coin that, at first glance, looks just like any other Lincoln penny, but is actually one of the rarest and most intriguing pieces to ever surface. So settle in as we open the door to an extraordinary journey into the minting world of 1978 and reveal how a small copper coin can hold the weight of a multi-million-dollar story. The year 1978 was not inherently known for massive U.S. mint mistakes, but it was a time when the coin-making process still involved layers of manual adjustments, transitional die usage, aging equipment, and often inconsistent quality control, all of which create an environment where unique and highly collectible errors can occur when the smallest mechanical deviation or overlooked detail results in a coin that defies expectations. And that is exactly the case with the ultra-rare 1978 1-cent that commands such a massive premium. One of the biggest reasons this coin reached an $8 million valuation is the combination of extremely unusual errors that appear on a single piece, forming a perfect storm of rarity, because major errors do appear on coins. But it is extraordinarily rare for multiple significant mistakes to occur simultaneously and survive quality inspection, surface circulation, and still remain in exceptional condition, and this coin showcases exactly that kind of once-in-a-generation anomaly. Collectors believe the coin may involve a dramatic off-center strike, not the small misalignment commonly seen, but a severe percentage of off-center striking that still retains a fully readable date, which instantly skyrockets value since off-center strikes with complete dates are far more desirable. But that is only the beginning, because alongside that error, specialists suspect this coin also shows a double denomination strike where a 1-cent planchet was mistakenly struck over another denomination, or where a previously struck coin of another value ended up under the dies used for the 1978 cent, creating overlapping details, ghost impressions, and mismatched design remnants that significantly boost rarity. Such extreme minting mistakes are almost impossible to replicate intentionally, and nearly always attract the most serious collectors willing to pay premium prices for unique combinations like these. But the story deepens further with the possibility that the coin was struck on an experimental or transitional planchet, raising the stakes because planchet composition errors are among the rarest and most valuable discoveries, and in 1978 the U.S. Mint had occasional instances when leftover planchets from previous years or test materials were mistakenly fed into the production line, meaning it's possible that this multi-million-dollar penny was struck on a foreign coin planchet or even a leftover prototype planchet with improper weight, incorrect metal content, or unusual coloration that sets it apart from all standard examples. And when an error involves the wrong metal paired with dramatic strike mistakes, value multiplies exponentially. Even more fascinating is the fact that the coin reportedly displays strong evidence of a double die error, one of the most sought-after mistakes in the hobby because double dies occur at the die creation stage, not during machine striking, which means every coin struck from that die would normally show the same doubling. Yet, in this case, only a single surviving example has surfaced, making it an extreme rarity. Doubling on the date, Liberty, or In God We Trust can add huge value, but when combined with planchet anomalies, misaligned dies, or overstrikes, it becomes a once-in-history discovery that collectors rush to obtain at any cost. When you piece together all these possible errors, you begin to understand why this 1978 cent has become a legend, and its multi-million-dollar price makes far more sense because it represents a perfect storm of minting chaos, an improbable combination of mechanical failure, human oversight, die misalignment, planchet confusion, and striking accidents all merging into a single coin that should not exist but somehow does. Another reason this coin reached an astronomical $8 million valuation is its condition, as extreme errors often suffer from damage during production or circulation, but this example is believed to be in an exceptionally high grade, possibly even near mint state condition, meaning its surfaces remain clean, its details remain sharp, and the errors are displayed clearly and dramatically, allowing collectors to appreciate every aspect of its rarity. The coin's survival in such pristine quality is another mystery of its own, because heavily flawed coins usually fail quality control and are melted, and those that escape are often handled roughly, yet this one remained preserved, adding another layer of intrigue to its story. Beyond the technical minting errors, the coin's value is also rooted in its extreme scarcity, with many experts believing that it may be the only known example in existence, making it a true unique rarity, and in numismatics, nothing increases value more than the combination of high demand and absolute scarcity. When a coin has a one-of-a-kind error combination and a documented history, collectors will battle fiercely in auctions, driving prices higher and higher, often beyond expectations, and this 1978 cent perfectly fits that pattern. There's also strong interest because this coin represents the hidden potential of modern pennies, reminding collectors that incredible finds are not limited to ancient or early American coins, but can emerge from any decade, even from years people assume are common and unremarkable. This adds a level of excitement and mystery to coin hunting, encouraging enthusiasts to keep looking closely at their spare change, knowing that history has shown over and over again that treasures can appear when least expected. For many collectors, the fascination goes beyond value and moves into the realm of what this coin represents, a dramatic reminder of how incredibly complex the minting process is, and how a single overlooked moment can create a multi-million-dollar treasure. It's a perfect representation of how such a tiny object can carry enormous historical significance, capturing the imagination of experts and hobbyists everywhere who marvel at how one small mistake in 1978 turned into an $8 million phenomenon. The possibility that this coin also carries traces of machine doubling, die deterioration marks, or even subtle repunched mint mark characteristics only fuels the speculation and discussion, as error collectors thrive on analyzing every microscopic detail that could add historical context or authentication clues. Some believe this penny may have been produced during a shift change or equipment recalibration, moments when oversight increases and errors are more likely to escape unnoticed. Others think it may have come from a batch of experimental strikes tested by mint technicians, which later slipped into circulation by accident. Regardless of the exact origin, the coin's lore continues to grow, and each new theory adds more fascination to its already rich story. Auction houses have shown significant interest in rare pennies with multiple errors, and when a coin achieves national or global attention, demand skyrockets even further, creating a competitive environment where collectors with deep pockets attempt to secure ownership of a piece of numismatic history, and this 1978 1 cent stands firmly within that realm. A coin whose reputation alone adds a level of prestige to any collection. Its $8 million price tag reflects not only its extraordinary errors, but also the intense passion among collectors, who recognize how rare it is for such a piece to exist. The coin serves as a reminder that rare finds often surface unexpectedly, making every penny worth a second look, especially from years like 1978 that many people overlook. Its story inspires new collectors and seasoned experts alike to remain vigilant, because treasures like this continue to remind us that the world of coins is full of surprises waiting to be discovered. Last 1993 D1 cent USA coin. The exciting journey into the fascinating world of rare and highly valuable pennies, where today we're diving deep into the 1993 D1 cent, a coin that has stunned collectors and numismatists alike by reaching an astonishing value of $5 million due to its unique errors and production anomalies. And believe me, the story behind this penny is as captivating as the coin itself. The 1993 D penny was minted in Denver, and while it might appear at first glance to be just another common cent in circulation, its value skyrockets because of certain errors and mistakes that occurred during its creation, mistakes that were unintentional yet have made this coin a crown jewel for collectors around the world. And to truly understand its worth, we need to explore the circumstances, minting process, and the types of errors that can transform a simple penny into a multi-million-dollar artifact. First, let's consider the minting process itself, because errors usually happen when the production line deviates from the norm. And in 1993, the Denver Mint was churning out millions of pennies, but among these, a very small number experienced misalignments in the die striking, resulting in variations that are incredibly rare. And these die errors can include double dies, off-center strikes, and planchet flaws, all of which can make the coin extremely desirable to collectors who are always on the lookout for anomalies that are not only rare, but also visually distinct. One of the most notable mistakes found on the 1993 D penny is the die doubling, where certain letters and numbers on the coin's surface appear slightly duplicated, creating a ghost-like effect, and this doubling is often subtle, requiring careful inspection under magnification, but when found, it signals a minting error that drastically increases the coin's value. Because collectors know that only a handful of these coins were produced before the die was corrected, making each piece a one-of-a-kind artifact from a historical perspective. Another contributing factor to the penny's value is off-center strikes, a type of minting error where the coin blank, or planchet, is not perfectly aligned in the coining press, causing part of the design to be missing or shifted, and in the case of the 1993 D penny, these off-center strikes can range from minor misalignments to dramatic shifts that expose a significant portion of the coin's copper surface without the typical Lincoln or wheat design, and coins with higher degrees of off-center strikes tend to fetch even more money, especially when combined with other anomalies like die doubling or missing mint marks. Planchet flaws are another rare but important reason why this penny is so valuable, as a planchet is the blank piece of metal that will be transformed into a coin, and imperfections during the metal preparation process, such as lamination errors, incomplete alloy mixing, or surface blemishes, can result in coins that are visually distinct and historically significant, and for collectors, these flaws represent a tangible connection to the minting process and the rare circumstances that led to a coin's production, turning what would otherwise be a common cent into a multi-million-dollar treasure. Beyond the physical errors, the historical context of 1993 also adds to the coin's allure, because during this period, the U.S. Mint was producing coins for circulation on a massive scale, and the oversight that allowed these errors to slip through quality control is part of what makes them so remarkable, reminding collectors that even in a highly mechanized and precise minting environment, human and mechanical errors can create extraordinary collectibles, and the rarity of these coins in pristine condition means that anyone lucky enough to own a well-preserved 1993 D-era penny is holding a piece of history that cannot be replicated. The value of $5 million is not just a number. It reflects decades of demand from collectors, auction houses, and numismatic experts who understand that rarity, condition, and historical significance combine to create a coin's market price, and this particular penny, due to its unique combination of errors, represents one of the pinnacles of modern coin collecting, illustrating how small mistakes in a minting facility can translate into massive financial and historical importance, and in some cases, the provenance of a specific coin its ownership history, how it was discovered, and whether it has been graded by a reputable coin grading service, can further elevate its value, as collectors often pay premiums for coins that are verified and documented. Furthermore, the excitement surrounding this coin is fueled by the possibility that other 1993D pennies with similar errors might exist, but finding them is like searching for a needle in a haystack, because millions of pennies were minted, yet only a tiny fraction have these notable mistakes, creating a frenzy in the numismatic community whenever one surfaces for sale or auction. And this scarcity principle is what drives prices into the millions, as collectors compete to acquire a piece that is essentially irreplaceable. The 1993D penny story also highlights the importance of grading and certification, because coins are evaluated for their condition on a scale ranging from poor to mint state, and even a minor scratch or sign of wear can significantly affect a coin's market value. So a perfectly preserved error coin from 1993D becomes a true gem, with the highest grades commanding the most attention and the largest premiums. And the process of authentication and grading adds another layer of security and confidence for buyers willing to invest millions in such a rare artifact. Another intriguing aspect is the educational value of such a coin, because it provides collectors, historians, and even casual enthusiasts with a window into the minting process, the types of errors that can occur, and the history of the U.S. cent. And studying a 1993D penny can teach valuable lessons about metallurgy, minting precision, and the economics of rarity, all while igniting the thrill of discovery that has made coin collecting a beloved hobby for centuries. The investment potential is another factor that cannot be ignored, as rare error coins, like the 1993D penny, often appreciate over time, especially when they are well documented and preserved, and collectors see them not only as pieces of history but also as tangible assets that can offer substantial returns, creating a dual appeal of historical intrigue and financial gain. The possibilities of what constitutes a valuable 1993D penny are virtually endless, from doubled dies, off-center strikes, planchet errors, to die cracks and lamination flaws, each type of error contributing differently to a coin's rarity and desirability. And collectors are constantly analyzing newly discovered specimens to determine which anomalies are most significant and which can command the highest prices at auction, driving a dynamic and competitive market where knowledge, luck, and timing all play critical roles. In summary, the 1993 D1 cent is far more than just a piece of copper. It is a symbol of rarity, a testament to the complexity of coin production, and a beacon for collectors who understand that the smallest errors can yield the largest rewards. And whether it's the subtle doubling of a letter, an off-center strike that dramatically shifts the coin's design, or an unusual planchet flaw that gives it a unique texture and appearance, each element contributes to a coin that has captured the imagination of collectors worldwide and commanded a value of $5 million, demonstrating that even in the modern era, where mass production dominates, perfection is not guaranteed, and the extraordinary can emerge from the ordinary, leaving numismatists, investors, and enthusiasts alike in awe of the power of rarity, historical significance, and the sheer unpredictability of the minting process, making the 1993 penny not just a coin, but a legendary artifact whose story will continue to fascinate and inspire generations of coin lovers around the globe.